Spotify stations is dead. It will be dead May 16th, 2022. Spotify claims it was always a beta, an experiment, if you will, and they're shutting it down. They say if you want those type of features, just do it in the main Spotify app. Now, I like Spotify stations for the fact that when I select an artist, I can constantly hear whatever the algorithm thinks I want to hear from that same artist, where I don't have to have variety. Pandora always have to have variety. I can't lock in on one artist in terms of that radio, which is fine normally, but when you want to discover an artist and see what's hot with an artist, it's nice to be able to lock down the request to be, hey, just play the songs by this particular artist, and you can get knowledge of their music and see what's really, really good with it. So it served a purpose with that. Had a general playlist, if you will, which you can easily find in the main Spotify app. You could always do the moods and genres, if you will, with that with the Spotify app as well, but also with stations. With station, it was a nice, clean, simple layout. And since I was using Pandora prior to it just for radio, and I occasionally check out something on Spotify, but maybe it's at the last couple years I add albums on Spotify and try to comb through the albums and build up a like list and build up a album list, if you will, of albums that I like. I've had the paid subscription and I've used the free one on a laptop, since you can still play albums and tracks in order for free as long as you have a laptop or a desktop and what have you. But sometimes it's just convenient to use it on your phone, and why not pay that $9.99 or what have you per month, so you can have it at your convenience to browse through Spotify, listen through Spotify. But yeah, I'm disappointed stations going down, but I've recently signed back into my Pandora probably a few days ago, and I'm still happy with Pandora, at least in terms of, hey, you pick the artist and then you hear other similar things that you like based on the algorithm. And I've had a long history of using Pandora, and it's just worked for me, even though this is my second account. But and I made that not too long after my first account. I've been using it since about the mid 2000s, when you use Pandora in the web browser, or you could use it as a widget at some point on a Windows machine. So yeah, I'm a fan of Pandora, but I did appreciate Spotify stations where you can lock in on an individual artist and be put on to knowledge and see what's hot with that particular artist and see what kind of music that they have. But I'm just fine using the main Spotify app, going through the albums, and even though it is kind of cluttered on Spotify and convoluted, and initially when I called one of Spotify, I didn't even understand that, hey, this is something that you can play albums. I thought it was just another radio app. I'm like, why is this so complicated with this playlist? I like the basic Pandora app. Pick the artist and you hear music from that artist, and after time you can add additional artists under that particular artist if you don't want to make a full-blown station of them, to add a little more variety. And Pandora, I think, does allow you to choose a little more variety, if memory serves correctly, on how you want to hear the music, or if you want to discover or hear favorites, or which way you want to lean. So yeah, that was always a good thing. And I believe Spotify stations, I think did that as well. But I think I'll get over it. I appreciate it, but that just means I'm gonna be using my Pandora app for radio type features and somewhat discovery. And I just stick to Spotify for the albums. I don't know about playlists, even though I think it creates automatic playlists, but I'll see. I mean, if I'm using Pandora for discovery, but even though I can get put on the new release because of Spotify, but I think YouTube Music is just as good and maybe even better when alerting me of, hey, this is new, or do I want to hear certain things from the past over again? But I'm using Spotify right now, simply just for albums. And once I comb through albums and see what I like, see what I don't like, I might just add it to the YouTube Music, which you can always play straight through on the free version, even on your phone, even though you have to keep the screen open and active. And if you're not wired and connected to outlet, definitely would be a battery drain. But I am partial to the layout of YouTube Music, but I'm using Spotify right now to go through some albums. And Pandora is just something I stick with and could not use for a while. Then I'll go back to it and use it for a while. I'm like, okay, I like hearing some of what I heard before and some of the discovery that comes up on the radios I had from the past. So yeah, I appreciate what they did, but obviously they have the data and maybe not a lot of people were using it or felt the need to it, and maybe people just using it through the Spotify app. Even though a lot of people say Spotify app is cluttered, and I agree, and it can be a little confusing at times. But hey, they know their data, and maybe they'll try to make Spotify app a little bit cleaner and what have you in the future. But I'm not sure how long I'll stick with Spotify, but for now, I would definitely use it for albums and maybe check out some podcasts. But I definitely like the layout of YouTube Music. And for radio, hey, Pandora, I'm still sticking with it, even though they're losing users. But I like Pandora, especially when you can replay certain songs. If you watch an ad and they allow you to replay and allow you to skip more than 6 skips an hour if you're willing to listen to ad. And I think you can even access the on-demand features, at least you could in the past, if you listen to a few ads. So yeah, for my radio needs that I've been using for a long time, I'm going to still roll with Pandora. Glad I never deleted, glad I never shut down that account. I'm going to stick with that and use Pandora in a combination with Spotify for now, and maybe use Pandora with a combination of YouTube Music at some point. But yeah, Spotify stations is over. It was cool. I like what they were doing. It made it simple and easy. And I used it for a while until I got into the albums. And I like being able to hear the light music and how I can narrow down on specific artists and hear more tracks from them. But yeah, I mean, it is what it is. Iceberg Jim out. Deuces.